Welcome to GSS 122, Philosophy and Logic. Today, we have treated pre-Socratic philosophers. So today we are going to look at Socrates, look at Plato, and Aristotle. We stop at those three and look at their philosophies. I will not capture everything they have said because some of what they have said is not relevant to to you. So we are going to focus on those things that are very relevant to you. So first is Socrates. Socratic method is the first thing we think we should look at. What is Socratic method? This refers to the dialectical process of seeking and of acquiring knowledge through questions and answers. And then this method is also called dialogue or method of dialogue or method of polylogue because it involves exchange of ideas between one or more parties. And this is what has been known about Socrates, because Socrates then used to go about communicating and exchanging ideas with people. And then also, this approach also includes using it is an inductive approach to learning or to seeking knowledge, because you begin from particular cases and then you with universal knowledge or with what we call concepts. And was approach that was used and applied to understanding source concepts of justice, law, and several other concepts like concept of truth. This method is also called Socratic midwifery because this is like a method of trying to let another person give birth to ideas. That's why it's called Socratic midwifery. The significance of this method is that it encourages introspection. That is, people should seek answers to their problem within themselves. Because there are some attitude among human beings that when they have problems, they will go outside, they blame others for their problem, blame outsiders for their problems. But this Socratic method encourages introspection, that you should seek understanding to your problem within yourself first before you begin to look at some other persons. Another notion we want to consider under Socrates is the Socratic irony. Socratic irony, like you note, is just an irony because Socratic irony simply implies awareness of one's ignorance, that is, knowing or to know that one does not know. And how does one say that he knows that he does not know if he does not already know? So it is said that a wise person is a person who knows that he does not know. And this is very important in philosophy because knowledge begins from the point of ignorance. Then the significance of this is that one, the person who professes ignorance will be eager to seek knowledge as against another who does not know. A person who claims to have known already will not seek knowledge. A person who claims to have attained certain level of knowledge will not seek knowledge at that level again. So, but once I claim ignorance or professes ignorance, that person will have the eagerness to seek knowledge or to pursue knowledge. Another aspect of Socratic philosophy that we want to look at is the epistemic aspect of it. That is knowledge as virtue. In fact, Socrates actually said knowledge is virtue. Socrates equated knowledge with virtue. Virtue also means good action, and this follows from knowledge. And in fact, it means that good action follows from knowledge, while wrongdoing results from ignorance. In other words, if a person is knowledgeable, he will not do wrong things. But if a person is not knowledgeable about what is right or what is good, that shows the person will be acting wrongly. So by virtue, Socrates did not mean abstract or scientific knowledge, but moral knowledge. That is knowledge that has bearing on human conduct. It was not when we said virtue is knowledge. It wasn't scientific knowledge it was talking about. It wasn't artistic knowledge. It was moral knowledge. So knowledge here, it refers to deep in personal conviction. Because when you say virtue is knowledge and then somebody who is knowledgeable will not knowingly commit moral evil. There may be some questions, some may raise issues. There are some criminals who already know what they want to do. They know the implications they want to, or what they intend to engage. Then they go ahead to do it. But Socrates actually says that this is, when it refers to knowledge, refers to deep personal conviction. Just knowledge that the criminal may have about the action may be peripheral. It may not be deep enough. It may not be connected to the good. So when we say virtue is knowledge, it refers to deep personal conviction. And anybody who has deep personal conviction may not willingly do the wrong. Another aspect of Socrates that I want to look at as we conclude that aspect is the death of Socrates. Why do we want to look at the death of Socrates? Because Socrates was accused of atheism, of corrupting the youth, and he was sentenced to death. Because Socrates has been acclaimed as one of the greatest moral philosophers. In fact, some actually say that he's the greatest moral philosopher in the West in history, because he lived his moral principles, he lived his moral teaching, rather than just preaching it. So how can such a person be sentenced to death on the account of atheism and on the account of corrupting the youth? That is why we are looking at this. Socrates did not support corruption that was so endemic in Athens at that time. And then Socrates then taught the youth how to seek knowledge, how to seek understanding about issues, and said that if they are knowledgeable enough, they will not engage in corrupt practices. And some of the members of the Athenian Senate were not happy about it. And now they set him up and claimed that the youth were acting irrationally because Socrates taught them. The significance of the death of Socrates, which is actually why we are looking at Socrates, the death of Socrates, is that, one, following a moral upright path is a risky in a corrupt society. For example, Nigeria, anyone who tries to follow a good or a upright path in the course of affairs in the country will face certain attacks from different directions. And that is very, very crucial. And this is what happened to Socrates. Of course, this also happened to Jesus Christ, who was crucified for doing the right thing. Another significance of the death of Socrates is that one should stay true to one's moral principle, even in the face of death. Because when Socrates was condemned to death and was to be killed 1 month later, some of his friends was able, okay, now we have been able to secure ways that you may escape from the prison. And Socrates turned down that offer. I refused to escape from prison. He said, if the Athenian laws and the Athenian state has protected him, and then these laws also demand his own life, then he will not stay away from it. So he uphold his moral principle even in the face of death. This is a very important aspect of Socratic death. Now, another person we want to consider is Plato. And we want to look at his theory of wall of forms, and also look at his theory of knowledge. First, the wall of forms. The notion of wall of form is the chief cornerstone of Plato's philosophy. It is the basis of Plato's epistemology, Plato's ethics, and even the idea of philosopher king. Most of what Plato said in his philosophies are based on the theory of forms. The wall of forms is also what is also referred to as the wall of ideas by Plato. That is a suprasensible wall. It is contrasted against this sensible wall. That is the wall that exists outside this ring. It is not the physical wall that can be perceived with the senses, but a wall that exists outside the senses. Now, forms are the eternal, immutable, immaterial, and stable realities as against the particular, unstable, and contingent things in the sensible world. The forms are the essences of the individual things, and they can only be known through dialectical reasoning and not via sense perception. Because the forms explain why, according to Plato, why things are the way they are, why the things that we see, the phenomena that we see are already in existence. So that is what Plato was trying to use the forms, which of course refers to a senses, to explain the phenomena. Now, particular things or objects of the senses are considered main shadows, reflections, or imitations of the forms. The chief or dominant form is the form of good, which, like the sun, illuminates all other forms and is the source of all of their beings. Because it means that there is hierarchy in forms. The greatest form is the good. There have been some analysis, some commentaries that have associated the idea of the good with God, because it is considered that the form of the good is the source of every other form, and it's the one that illuminates other forms. It's the source of being generally. Now, the form of good is the unifying principle because every other form participates in the form of good. That is another way of saying without the form of good is a necessary form, and other forms are contingent to it. Now, it is only the philosopher who can perceive the forms. Well, if you now begin to ask, okay, what are these forms? How do I know these forms? Plato said that not anybody can perceive the forms. It's only the philosopher who has the ability to perceive the form, because it is only the philosopher who has the capacity and the capability for reflection, for dialectical reasoning. Because for Plato, one could only perceive the forms through dialectical reasoning. Dialectical reasoning means asserting a thesis, asserting an antithesis, and then synthesizing, and then projecting the antithesis, and synthesizing, and then the process continues until you reach the stage of the forms. That is the stage of stability, immutability, and then the stage that they can say, yes, this idea, it is what it is.